Good afternoon, guys and girls, and welcome. Yeah, we're in the shack, and I thought I'd just come on and show you how it's progressing in here. I moved all this stuff from in front of this jukebox, so we've got plenty of room here now. Push that door too. There we go. Got plenty of room in here now, guys, to move about. Plenty of room now to move about, and yeah. Oh, pardon me. We've got plenty of room to move about. All our stuff is all sorted out now. If we go to the camera number two. I'm still waiting for a few things. We've got the work. We're getting the workshop sorted out. It's just yeah. Right. Well, let's give you a look and explain a few things. Right. So let's go to camera number 2. There we go, guys. And there's the workbench. This is where we'll be doing our repairs. There's plenty of room. We're going to be having a bird's eye view of the bench, so we're not worried about we can't see it now. But yeah, we've got plenty of room there for doing repairs. Look at that, all that space from the end of the test set all the way up to here. We've got our cloths and our sponges for wiping up if we make a mess. I gave this bench a good wipe down last night. Yeah, this got a good wipe down last night. We've got if I move back and bring the camera in, there we go. We've got the desoldering station up there now as well. We brought the desoldering station in here because we're not going to use that in the main workshop, because most of what I work on in there has got valves in it, and you don't really need that. That's good for taking PLL chips and stuff out, or any other kind of chip. That's great for that. And obviously there's the test set. Now you can see my lovely old jukebox, my Roami. Can't remember what model it is. I can't remember the model number. I think it's a Roami Classic or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is. I'd have to wheel it out and look at the back. Lovely sounding box though, guys. Lovely sounding box. Sound great, them Roamis. I've also got a vintage NSM from 1964 in the workshop, which we're going to treat as a winter project. Get that going. And there's the test set as you seen yesterday. There's our work area. We've got plenty of place there to work, and I mean, you don't need any more space than that really. We've got a good one in green mats like I've got in the workshop. We've got one of those coming that we're going to put on the bench, and that'll help protect the surface, because like I said yesterday, when I bought this in about 2016, I paid a lot of money for it. It wasn't cheap. You know, it wasn't cheap. It was about, I think it's £70 odd I paid for it. But it is full metal frame and everything, so you know, that was why it was bought. But it's a good bench, good solid bench. At the time, I was working, and I was earning. At the time, I was employed and I was working, and I was earning a decent amount of money at the time, and I was doing loads of overtime. So you know, I was I was topping up my wages every month. I could back then. The job I had, I was only a cleaner, and I could leave work. Let's just come back to the camera for a minute. Come back to camera one for a minute. Let's just caught the camera. There we go. You know, and I could leave work. You know, I used to, you know, I was only doing a cleaning job. I used to clean the William Hill shops, and I used to have 5 or 6 regulars that I used to do, and this keeps reminding me to restart. I'll do it later. You know, I could earn what? Back then, I could earn, you know, I could earn about £2.5 a month because of doing overtime. You know, I used to do everything that my manager used to throw at me. You know, I weren't bothered. It was all in, you know, at the end of the day, you look at what's at the end of the, you look what's at look at what's end of the look what's at the end of the rainbow, don't you? You know. So I was able to buy myself a lot of nice new tools. You know, and I thought to myself, this gravy train won't run forever. So, you know, one day I might lose my job, in which case I did lose my job. So I thought, oh, this gravy train ain't gonna run forever. So, you know, get as much as you can while you can get it. And it looks like it's gonna piss down out there. It's gone ridiculously dark. I hope it doesn't rain. I like the heat. I like the sun. But you know, I was able to get myself a lot of nice stuff. And I thought, well, I could do with a bench in here. I could do with a bench in here. It's not really a desk, it's more of a bench. So anyway, so I bought this. I should have bought 2 of them. I should have bought 2 of them really, because I could have had one in the workshop and replaced the workshop bench. Because the workshop bench is made out of an old wardrobe. But yeah, I should have bought 2, and then I would have had. I could have had 2 then, but I never thought. I just bought the one. But I got myself a load of nice tools. While I was working, I was able to afford them. You know, those Peak Atlas test component analyzers. I bought all those. I bought some nice meters. I didn't buy my oscilloscope. My oscilloscope's not in here. What I might do, I've got my Fluke meter in here. I've got Tyrone's meter, what I call Tyrone's meter. My Fluke, I got it off my friend Tyrone when he passed last year. His widow gave me his Weller soldering station, which he'd had since 1987, and his Fluke test meter, which he hadn't had that long. It was only made a couple of years, about 2018 or something. And you know, she sent them up with her son-in-law. You know, she said, you know, she told me on the phone that she was sending them. She said, you know, Tyrone would think that you'd like to have them. You know, she says, I know Tyrone would have wanted you to have them. She said, so I'll send them up. So she did. And I'm not using Tyrone's soldering iron in here. I think the Weller's a bit too big for this bench, but I like the Weller. It's good. That's a good hot iron for doing valve jobs. That gets really hot, that Weller. It's a really nice hot iron, and it's great for doing valve jobs. Whereas this one I've got in here, this one I got, it was I think it was 25 quid, and it is a soldering station. But you have to provide your own 24 volt power supply, which I've actually got a regulated 24 volt power supply that works perfect. Drives it lovely, and the advantage to this iron, I'll show you in a minute. The advantage to this iron is this is a nice iron. If we go back to camera 2, here we are, guys. This is. If I stop kicking the camera. If I bring us in, why am I bringing the camera in when I can zoom in? Right. So if I zoom in just a touch, there we go. Right. So this is the iron that we're going to be using, and this has got a wide tip on it at the moment, but this heats up dead quick. And the thing I like about this iron is I don't like the fact that collar can be released from there, because it's easy to lose. But the nice thing I like about this iron, you can pull that out. These use to what's called the T12 tips, and you know that's your actual element. Your element is actually in your tip. There's nothing in your iron, no element in the handle. It's in the iron itself. It's your element is all in that. You just slide that into there. I have got the other tips in the workshop which I'm going to be bringing in. Hello Paul, good afternoon sir, hope you're good. And that just screws back on there, and you don't have to really swing on it to tight, just make sure it's snug, and that just goes back. I need to find the soldering iron sponge as well. And I think this lead on this is silicon, which is good, because that's what we like to see. And if I turn it on, it has an OLED display. There we go. And it'll heat up dead quick. Watch how fast this thing gets hot. Might not be able to see it on here, but we'll try. Might not be able to, we'll try. Oh yeah, it's flickery, but we can see it. Look at that, 480C we want it at. And it's going up there, you can see it counting up in the corner. We're jumping between 23 and 20. Hello Jason, we're jumping between 23 and 24, 23.9 volts. It tells us what temperature, tells us our degrees and all that lot. You know, tells us all our statistics about, you know, about the iron, and we can adjust it. You know, you can adjust all the parameters of the iron, and that's probably going to be pretty warm now. Let's feel it. What I generally do to test the iron, generally put it under my nose. Yeah, and that's red hot. I generally just put it under my nose like that, and I feel the heat, just not right on my nose, but just under, and I feel the heat. There we go. And that's, you know, that's lovely, that. And we're actually at temperature. We're actually at temperature now. And if we zoom back out, oh, we're all the way in there. Yeah, it tells you there. OLED quick heating temperature, quick heating solder station. And it was only 25 quid, that. I mean, 25 quid, that's a lot of iron for 25 quid, guys, trust me. You know, that's a lot of soldering iron for 25 quid. I mean, we've still got a few things. Are we all the way out there? Because I'd like us to be a bit further back. The way to do that is move the camera. There we go. And there we go. And there's the view of the bench. You know, it's coming on in here now. I mean, and I really need this. You know, I do really need this, guys. This is something I do really need. I mean, what I could do really, you know, I could stick that solder station on some double-sided tape and stick it under here, but I'm not going to. But I could. And that would probably be a better proposition, actually. But I'm not going to, because there's a wire behind it might get in the way, and an on-off switch. And knowing my luck, it'll drop off. So we'll leave it where it is. The little power supply thing I made up, we've stuck that down with double-sided tape. That'll stay where it is, hopefully. If it doesn't, then we'll just drill a hole in it, take it apart, drill a hole in it. Yeah, I hope you're feeling better actually, Paul, because I know you've not been very well. Let's come back to camera 1. There we go. Let's move in a bit so I can read the chat. Right. Yeah. Hello, Jason. I'm good, thanks. Yeah, good to see you're good, Jason. Recovering slowly, but getting there. That's great, that, Paul. You know, be nice to see you. Be nice when you're fully back on the ball again. But yeah, we're getting there now, guys. With this lot, it's, you know, everything's. We've got some more stuff to bring in here. You know, we've got stuff to bring in. We've got the leads that I use to connect to radios up. You know, me one in many, as I call me, one in many power supply. Let's turn this soldering iron back off. There we go. But the other nice thing about that iron, it goes to sleep after a bit. You know, once it's been on for a bit, it'll go after, if you're not using it, it'll go to sleep and you tap it and it comes back. You just give it a shake and it comes back on again. I need to find the sponge because my sponge has gone AWOL, so I need to find the sponge. What I might do is order another one of those soldering iron cleaners that you just dip, one of them dippers. I might just order another one of them because I prefer them anyway. So I'll probably just order another soldering iron sponge, another soldering iron dipper. Yeah, who we got in there? Hello, Tech Tinkering. Hey up there, dude. They mentioned you a minute ago on 19, so I tuned in. Yeah, there's there are a couple of people on 19. It's actually on at the moment. There are a couple of people on 19 that do subscribe and I believe do watch the channel. So yeah, you're more than welcome. Basically, I'll give you a brief outline if you've never been on the channel before. What it is, it's the vintage radio channel, the Vintage Radio Shack. It used to be the CB Radio Shack, but I'm an amateur operator as well, so I thought it's a bit, you know, and I'm not a radio snob. I think everything should be included. If you're doing a channel on CB, and you're a licensed amateur, then you should include your hobby in there as well, your whole hobby, not just part of it. So, you know, I don't believe in radio snobbery. You know, if you pick a mic up and you speak to somebody, you're a radio operator. Whether you're a licensed one or not, you're still an operator to some point. That's my feelings on it. And what the idea of this originally was to just come in here, demonstrate radios I'd repaired or serviced, and that kind of thing. But In my workshop, I get overwhelmed, and I've got 2 benches in there. But the problem is I get overwhelmed very quickly because I've got not really anywhere to put stuff. So the benches end up having stuff put on them. Now this bench won't, because this is solely for repairing radios. We've got. I'll give you a quick look at my radios that we've got set up on the bench. Oh, hang on. Would help if I changed the camera, wouldn't it? Let's see what's being said. I might have to go and get my phone, because I find it hard to read the chat. My eyes are shit, and that's even worse. I heard you on 19. I've heard you on 19. I'm only local near Hattersley, so I get you direct sometimes. Yeah. Studied for the foundation, but I've found a decent club. Hang on. Yeah, I studied for the foundation, but not found a decent club to do it with, so kind of gave up. You can do it online, you know. I was talking to the woman at Ofcom last week. Sorry, I realise it's a pain to read. No, don't you be sorry. It's not your fault. It's not your fault my eyes are 59 years old. Don't be worried about that. I'll read it. Don't you worry, mate. No worries. That's my fault, not yours. But I should have brought my phone. What I normally do, I normally read it from my phone. But I've not brought my phone in with me. And I don't want to stand up because I've not got my trousers on. I know you lot see me in my undercrackers, you know, because I thought, well, you know, it's because I've not been up long, because I don't sleep too well at nights. And hello, Martin. Are you supposed to be trundling around in your vehicle, going around putting people's electric meters and stuff in? Hello, my friend. How you doing? Yeah, but no, don't give up on it, mate. Don't give up on it. You can do it online. I was talking to the woman last week at Ofcom, because I phoned up Ofcom to revalidate my licence. Because you have to revalidate your licence every 5 years, and I do it every 5th May, around about the time I did it last week, about the 15th or something like that. Around that time I ring up and I validate it. I do it every 5th May. I validate my licence, and you know. But don't give up. No, well, you can do it online. You know, you can do it online, guys. I mean, I've got a friend who did it online. Finished early. Changed 7 garden lights. Oh, not bad. Yeah, so, you know, but no, that's what we're here for. You know, don't worry about that. We're here to give advice. You can do it online. What it is, you do it over your you do it over, like, you have a camera set up, so the examiner can see you, you know, and you have a camera set up so the examiner can see you, and you can see him, and they just basically take you through it, and, you know, see how you do at the end of it. I'm not sure how it's actually done, but I know, yeah, I know a friend and a friend of his. They both did theirs online. They did it during COVID, but you can still do it online. You know, yeah, you can do it online if you want. But if you're gonna, you know, you're not far away from Stockport. I did my exam at Stockport Radio. Stockport Radio weren't bad. You know, they were very easy to work with. I found them easy to work with. They were very patient. and they've got a sense of humour as well. You know, they had a sense of humour, or one of them did. He turned round, he says, has anybody here got 2 meters? So I said, yeah. He said, you've got 2 meters? I said, yeah, gas and electric. He says, oh, we always get a smart one. But that being said, even though I was, you see what I do when I'm in a situation, and to be honest with you, I felt comfortable in the situation I was in because I understand radio. I understand it, and I've played with it all my life pretty much. You know, I've always been interested in whether it's two-way or whether it's commercial radio. I've always been interested in radio per se. So I've always had a good so I really developed a good understanding of it. And I mean, yeah, I'm fairly new to actually servicing and repairing two-way radio, but it's not that difficult. If you've got the gear, it's not that difficult. I mean, you know, you let the tools do the work, because that's why you have the tools. You know, rather than, you know, that's why we have test meters and test sets and oscilloscopes, stuff like that, because having stuff like that helps us find the faults. It makes it a lot easier for us. But the foundation, like getting back to the foundation license, it is fairly simple. It's not mega easy. It depends on what kind of questions you get on the day. Like on the day I did mine, basically I was expecting a load of technical questions, and they weren't. They were mainly based on the regulations. You know, like one of the questions was, at one point are you considered to be portable? You know, portable means using one of these little lads. You know, it means using one of these guys. At one point, see, I could be using this in here, but even though I'm using this in here, I'm still not classed as portable because I'm at my home station. Now, if I go past my front gate with this, just to step outside my gate with this, I'm classed as portable. That's when I become portable. And that was one of the questions a lot of the lads, I mean, I understood it. My mate Tony, who we did it with, he understood it, but quite a few of them didn't. So before we went into the exam, Bernard, I think it was, at Stockport Radio, he explained at one point you are portable, but I already knew, and Tony already knew, one or two of us already knew, but there were a couple that didn't. You know, it's like if I go to another operators and I'm using this, if I'm at another licensee, another ham operators, and I'm using this, I'm not classed as portable. I'm classed as alternative because I'm at another station. If I arrive at your station with this and I use it, even though this is my radio and it's portable, I'm alternative. That's what I'm classed as being, because I'm at another operator's station. And if anyone comes here with this, then they're classed as alternative. But until they get in, if they're walking down the street, they're classed as portable. And that was one of the regulations, that was one of the questions at one point, are you considered to be portable? And the other one, there was another question, and I can't remember it, but you could be right either way. But they wanted it specifically. You have to really, you know, you have to really read the questions in the exam, because there was a question I wish I could remember what it was, but basically it tricked us all. You know, it confused us all, and it was a question on the regulations, but to be honest, it could be right either way. There was no right or wrong, but they wanted a specific. They wanted you to answer that a specific way. They wanted you to be specific, not, you couldn't answer it both. You had to pick one, but they were both technically right. And after we'd done our exam and we come out, once the examiner called time and we all left our papers on the desk and put our pens down and walked out. A couple of us walked up to Bernard and we spoke to Bernard at Stockport Radio, and we said to him, like, that particular question, we all knew what it was then, that particular question, there's no right or wrong answer. And Bernard turned round, he said, listen lads, gather round, he says, and he sat on the edge of the desk, he said, right, listen guys, he says, if any of you fail on that question, he said, I'll go into bat for you. He said, because you're right, there is no right or wrong answer. It can be right either way around. He said, just that the examiner wants it a certain way round. But either it was a multiple choice, but you had to pick one. You could only pick one answer, but both answers could be right. It's one of them sort of like it's like a double barrel question, a double-ended question. It's I wish I could remember what it was, but I can't. But there was a lot of things. It was all mainly regulations. I was expecting technical. My mate Tony was expecting technical, and even Bernard at Stockport Radio was expecting technical. But we got a load of questions on regulations. It was like it was like an examination of the rules and regulations, not about. I think one of the few technical questions was, how many watts could we use? Well, back then you could use, I think it's still the same. I think you could use 12 watts. I think you can put 20 on your transceiver. You can put about 20 on, because you lose some of it by the time it gets to your feeder. So I always put about 20 on, but because you can't accurately gauge it. You can roughly have a rough idea, but you can't accurately gauge it. So some of the driving theory, tests and shit. Yeah, I know it does, doesn't it? It does. Yeah, fucking multiple answers. They have daft questions where it can be answered, where it can be right both ways, but they want a specific answer. Yeah, it's fucking stupid. But that's what they want, you see. Let me just switch cameras while I go and get me phone, guys. Yeah, I'm not letting you lot see me in my undercrackers. Especially if Cockhead's watching. Oh shit! What have I just pulled off the bench? Oh, nothing. It was my chair creaking. Bear with me a minute, guys. I'll just trot through here and get my phone. Move, Scraps. Oi, move. Move. Will you shift? I can't get past here, come on. I'm going to open this door. Let some fresh air in. Move. Good boy. Good lad. Yeah, so... I'm back, guys, I'm back. Yeah. There we go. Oh, yeah, it's my chair, guys. Anyway. Getting back to what I was saying, I can read the chat now. I've been and got my phone. There we go. So it'll be a lot easier. I need to plug a phone charger into here as well. I've got 3 notifications on my email. Yeah. I've got a guy mithering me over some VHS video recorders he wants me to do. He wants to bring them tomorrow. He ain't bringing them tomorrow. I've told him what day I want him to bring them. I've told him he can bring them on Friday. Oh, and by the way, congratulations to Graham from the YouTube channel Microchips, if you're watching, Graham, on your 4,000 subscribers. Hey, you've not been doing it that long either. You've done very, very well, my friend. Congratulations. Right, so let's turn this down. There we go. Right, now I can read the chat now, guys. That's better for me. I went for my motorcycle theory recently, and it was the same. I failed my motorcycle test. I called the examiner a cocksucker. That probably had something to do with the fact that I failed. What happened was I rocked up at the place in Stockport, the test centre in Stockport on Lingard Lane. I rocked up there on my bike, my little 125, and I got there. And he called us all out, and he says, right, he says to me, he says, where's your gloves? And it was a red hot sunny day, I didn't bother putting them on. I said, I've not put my gloves on. He says, well, I can't test you without your gloves. I said, listen, it doesn't say anywhere in the regulations that I have to wear gloves. I says, all it tells me to do is make sure I'm wearing a helmet, I'm wearing protective clothing. It doesn't mention anything. In fact, it didn't even mention clothing. Yeah. You know, and so anyway, I said, okay. I said, I only live 5 minutes away. I said, let me go and get my gloves. And he was going on, this fucker. Oh, and he was really beginning to annoy me. And anyway, I called him a cocksucker. So I shut off. I thought, well, I've already paid for it. I'm not losing them. It was about 40 odd quid. Well, I'm not fucking losing 40 quid. You know, I can't afford to lose 40 quid, even though I was working. I said, I can't afford to lose 40 quid. I said, can you afford to lose 40 quid? And he's going on, so I said, hang on a minute. I got on my bike and I fucking shot back here. I got my gloves and I went back. And he says, right, he says, I've got 10 minutes before my lunch. He says, I've got the time to test you. So he tested. So anyway, I did the test, and I failed. He failed me. I said, why did you fail me? I knew why he failed me. He failed me because I called him a cocksucker. He said, well, you didn't get to the regulated speed, which is 19 miles an hour, by the time you got to the end there. I said, well, my speedo said I was doing 20. He said, yeah, well, we go off our times, our equipment. I thought, you fucking arsehole, pardon the language, guys and girls. I thought, you know, yeah, I knew he was going to fail me. Because I'd already called him a cocksucker. So I knew he was going to fail me. You know, you just know, don't you? You know, so I never went for it after that. I thought, well, I don't really need it. You know, you're supposed to do it within 2 years. I think it's within 2 years of doing your CBT, which I only did the CBT once, you know. I don't know about now. I don't know whether they can check it now. But back in the day, when I did the CBT, the police couldn't check it at the roadside. So if you told them you had it, then, you know, and you didn't have the document on you, they had to give you the benefit of the doubt, or have you go to the police station and produce a document. But I never ever got asked for it. I only did it the once, the CBT, and you have to do that every 2 years. You know, you have to do the CBT every 2 years, and that's just another way of screwing you for more money, that. You know, that's another way of screwing, and the CBT is it's not fucking, you know, it doesn't mean to say you're going to get your CBT certificate. I mean, when I did my CBT back in the mid-2000s, there was a guy, there was an old guy who was in his 60s, and you know, he wouldn't go above 30 miles an hour. You know, we got onto Kingsway, onto the A34, towards Manchester, and you know, that's that you know, yeah, I think you can do about 50 miles an hour on there, or 40 at the very least. Anyway, might be able to do a bit more. Anyway, so the examiner, we had radios on in our ears, and the examiner says, "Right, lads," there was only two of us. He says, "Right, lads," he says, it was 2 lads per examiner. He says, "Right, lads," he says, I want you to increase from 30 to 40 miles an hour, if you will." He said, we can do 40 here." He says, "Do 40. So I started to race off, got up to 4, my 125 could do it. It was one of the Chinese ones, but it could do 40, no effort. It weren't even stretching its legs, it had a really good engine. Anyway, it could do 40, no messing. I got to 40 and I held at 40. And I was way out in front and the examiner was right at the back. And so I pulled over. You know, I indicated, and in case he was, because he might have saw me, but I couldn't see him in my mirrors. So anyway, I indicated and I pulled over safely, and I stopped, and he caught up and he come over and he said, "What's the matter, Andy?" I said, "Well, you're out of sight." I says, "And this guy's not doing it." I said, "The reason you're out of sight," I said, "you can't observe what I'm doing." "Yeah, I'll catch you later, Jason. No worries, my friend. You take it easy." "I got you there, mate." And basically, he said, "Well, this, you know," he said, "Well, this lad's only doing 30. I said, "Well, that's no good." I said, "Because you told us on the radio to go to 40. I said, "And we can do 40 here." I said, "So, you know," I said, "It means I'm going to have to keep stopping." You know, and he turned round to this lad. He turned round to this old lad. He said, "Listen, mate." He says, "Andy's right." He says, "I'm going to have to tell you, you've got to do 40. And you've got to stay out of the cycle lane." He said, "You're supposed to be like Andy said at the beginning when I asked where you should position yourself." He said, "Well, I want to see you left of centre," which is where you're supposed to be on a motorbike. You're supposed to be just left of centre. Anyway, so anyway, we finished today, and we all got our certificates. Even that old fella, he got his. I wouldn't have wanted to be behind him on my way home though, because the guy, all due respect, yeah, you know, the guy was an old guy. He'd probably never ridden a motorcycle in his life. He had very little confidence, you know, and I remember when I first rode one, I was the same. First time I ever rode one back in the 80s, I was the same. So I knew how we felt, you know. But yeah, you know, I did my CBT. I only ever did it once. I thought they're not getting fucking 100 and something quid out of me every. I think if you had your own bike, it was about £94 when I did it, just under 100 quid when I did it. But if you rented a bike from them, it was about 140, 150 quid or something like that, because you had to pay for the rental of the bike, which covered your insurance and everything. I just took everything with me. I had my insurance, my provisional and all that. I just took all that with me theory. I just took all that with me to show them. And I just turned around and said, I've got everything, mate. In fact, I got my mate to drop me off in a van, because knowing my luck, I thought, knowing my luck, I'll get stopped by the bloody coppers on my way there. So, because I was riding around for about 2-3 months before I even did it, to get my hand in, you know, to get a bit of practice in. And when I got there, I was pretty proficient. So, and anyway, we went in. He did a safety talk, and we come out to the bikes, and he said, where do you position yourself on the road? So this old bloke turned round. He says, in the cycle lane. So I turned round. I said, well, that's wrong for a start. So the examiner turned round and said, well, go on then, clever dick. He said, where would you position yourself? I said, just left of centre, where you're supposed to. Anyway, he turned around then, because I was bombing up and down the car park when they got there. It was at Bellevue Dogs. I was bombing up and down bombing up and down the car park waiting for them to turn up, because I got there early. And one of the examiners turned round. He says, how did you get here on that? I says, no. I says, a mate of mine brought me in a van. Because before they turned up, my mate jumped on it and he was bombing up and down the car park on it. And then he says, right, he says, I'm going to have to shoot off, Andy, I'll see you later. And I got on it and started riding up and down the car park on it. Anyway, and then they turned up, and the guy says, he says, right, he says, well, he said, what we'll do, Andy, he says, you go first. He says, because, you know, he said, we've seen you, you know how to ride. He said, so you go first and show us how it's all done. So he told me what he wanted me to do and all this lot, so I just went and done it. You know, they pulled me up on a couple of things, like forgetting to cancel my indicator on occasion. I suppose when you're being tested, whether it's driving or for a radio licence, you just have to control your emotions and just be calm and get on with it. Absolutely, my friend, that's exactly how you do it. You just, you know, do you remember when you were at school and the teacher used to say all sorts of shit, and most of it you just fucking ignored it, and you were dead calm and you were chatting and whatnot? That's all you do. You know, it's just like being in school. You know, the only difference is you've paid whatever it is now for the licence, for the course. When I did my AM radio course, it was about 40 or 45 quid or something daft. I can't remember now, but I did mine in 2011. My certificate's on the wall up here, because I've always used this as the shack. The aerial is right behind this wall here. You know, right behind the wall where the bench is. The aerial's right behind there, only a bit further up the wall. You know, it's at the end of the day, yeah, just keep calm and just be collective. You know, just keep your mind together. You know, just think, right, I'm going to do this. You know, you just think, I'm going to do this. I think when I did it, the pass rate, I think the amount of questions needed to be correct, I think it was 18 out of 25 questions. Now, if I told you I got all the questions correct, you'd probably think I'm being a big head, but I'm not. I did get them all correct. Even the awkward one, the one that we were all, I can't remember what it was, but we were all concerned about. I even got that one correct. Everybody did. Even that, or the examiner looked at that one and said, yeah, this can be answered both ways, and give us it all anyway. But yeah, because I says to Bernard, I says, can you tell me how many I've got out of the 25? He said, yeah. He said, you got a full house. I said, what, 25? He said, yeah. You know, and they were all mainly on regulations. I mean, if I expected to get a good score if they were on technical, but I'll be honest with you guys, and I'm an honest man, you know, I just took a shot at a shot in the dark at some of them because I didn't fully understand the regulations. I understand most of them now, obviously, but at the time I didn't fully understand all the regulations. So a couple of them were a shot in the dark, but they were a lucky shot in the dark. You know, my guardian angel must have been with me that day. I do believe in guardian angels. She must have been with me that day. But, you know, yeah, you just be calm about it. Just get on and do it. It's simple. You know, it's not as hard as everybody says. It really isn't. Sorry I had to answer a call from my work colleague. Oh, no worries about that. Wants a bathroom extractor fan with a small tit. Right. Yeah. A bathroom extractor fan with a small tit. Oh, there we go. You see, he wants a small tit, does he? Well, I've got bigger tits than most women. Time to go for. Time to go for the intermediate if you get a full sheet. Yeah, you know. Well, I thought about it. I considered going for the bit that goes into the duct. It has a right angle duct. I know. Yeah, I get an idea. I didn't think it was something that you would suck on. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I had an idea it'd be something like that. Yeah, but you know, you see, the reason why I didn't go for the intermediate is I was going for it and I was preparing for it, but when I came on 2 meters, there was loads of people on it. When I came on 2 meters, or 2 litres as I call it, there was loads of people on them. They were all new licensees. They were all new to the hobby, and a lot of them had come on, but within a couple of months it just petered out. They all disappeared. They got fed up with the hobby, couldn't be bothered with it or whatever, and there's probably a load of nice radios sat in cupboards gathering dust, and they're never likely to see the light of day again until somebody rediscovers them, you know. And it went quiet, and it's still fairly quiet over on 2 meters and 70 centimeters, and you know, and that's the reason why I never went for the intermediate. That's the only reason why I didn't bother, because I seen it as throwing good money after bad, because I wasn't gonna get you know, because there's not a lot on there now. You know, it takes you all your time to get a radio report on 500 on the calling channel. It takes you all your time to get you know, on the calling frequency rather. It takes you all your time to get a radio report. You know. And I mean, I've come on here on a Friday where I've gone through it and I've actually picked up a few people. I've been on the repeater a few times. One of my subscribers, I think it was Rob Thomas, I think it was Rob. I think he came on the repeater one night. He managed to get in using one of the digital methods. I forget which one, but because I don't use those sort of digital methods, but he came on using that. Using one of the digital methods, and I was talking to him, but you know, it sort of like went in a big slump, and we really do, you know, I do try to promote it. We do need more. You know, if you get your license, if anybody on here is thinking of doing their license, stop thinking about it. Do it. Because it's a good hobby to get into. You know, even if you only do the foundation, you know, okay, you're limited in power, but you can still use all the bands. some of the hard-nosed amateur radio operators, like the G stations, the really old ones, they're opposed to people like me, a lowly M6, using all the bands. But as far as I'm concerned, if you've done your test, no matter which exam you've done, then you've got the right to use all the bands, all the frequencies, and I go on 10 meters now and again, and sometimes you find some good healthy stuff on 10 meters on USB. USB mode on 10 meters. 10 meters is 28 megs. You get some people on there. I went on there one night, and I forget what frequency it was. I've got it wrote down so I can visit it again somewhere. And I had a really good chat and was on here on YouTube. I was on YouTube and I was showing people the radios, and we was having a bit of a chat and stuff, and nobody minded. I always ask, do you mind that your voice is going to be heard on YouTube? And if someone doesn't want their voice to be heard, then I'll not let their voice be heard. Obviously, if I'm doing the channel, then it means I have to stop talking to them, which is a shame. But most of it, I've never yet found anybody who said no. No one, apart from Lee Blue Sky. Lee Blue Sky up the road from me, he said no. So, I don't mind Lee, he's got every right to say no. I'll speak to Lee, but I won't speak to him when I'm on here, because he doesn't want it, so, he doesn't want to be heard on YouTube. So that's all fine. Everybody has a right. And first and foremost, if you're doing a YouTube channel, especially on something like radio, you have to respect other people's rights and other people's wishes. That's number one. Because if I didn't want to be heard or seen, I would expect people to respect that. But yeah, always respect other people's wishes. If somebody doesn't want to be heard on YouTube, then if you do get them, then you just edit the bit out that they're in, so that they're not there. Yeah, it's one of them. You're really testing yourself, so no point in flapping and getting. No, there's no point. There's no point. In fact, when I was doing my exam, when I was preparing for it, doing the course, when I was actually doing the course at Stockport Radio, my biggest worry was where the nearest chip shop was to get me dinner. Yeah, agreed. Hang on. It's a shame when people get like that. My exam was harder, so I think you mean respect there. So resent? No, you don't resent me, do you? It's a shame when people get like that. My exam was harder, so I resent you. Yeah, no, so some people. I mean, some exams are harder. Of course they are. I mean, if you're going to be a doctor, your exam's going to be a lot harder than if you want to be an electrician or a gas engineer. Of course it's going to be harder. Agreed, the more the merrier, in my opinion. Yes, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, when you do a radio exam, Martin, you're doing it because you want to do it because you enjoy the hobby. You're not expecting to make a living out of it. You're not going to make a living out of it. It's there so because it's something that you want to do and you've got the time to do it, and it's something that you've got to be really passionate about radio to want to do it in the first place, I think. I had to learn Morse. I didn't know you were licensed. Martin. No, well, you see, by the time I did mine, hang on, let me just read this. I like when people don't want to share. Sorry, like when people don't want to share their hobby and they get snobby about. No, I'm not into that. No, not so sure about that, Andy. Electrician, I need City and Guilds 18th edition. 2391. Right. No, I was saying that was what they. Oh yeah. You know, I mean, when I know, I've got what you're saying, Martin. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I got what you were saying. I got the drift of it, what you were saying, mate. But you know, when I did mine, we did a Morse assessment, but it wasn't required. But we did a Morse assessment, and Bernard said at the end, he said, the next time you use Morse, it'll be in anger. I said, I'll never use Morse. I don't use Morse, I never had. I'm not really into the hobby that much where I want to use Morse. I mean, the only reason why, there's only one reason and one reason only why Morse had to exist. And there was only one reason for that. There was no microphones back in the day. When Morse was invented, there was no microphones. When Samuel Morse invented Morse code, it was as close as you could get to speaking, because even the telephone hadn't been invented then, because the telegraph was invented soon after, and that used the Morse system. Telegraph used the Morse system, but then the telephone came later. But Martin, I think Martin understands more about the telephone than I do. I think Martin worked as a was a BT engineer you worked as? Worked as a Busby, didn't you? You used to jump on your phone lines so you get all crackles when you were talking to your mate. That was what Martin used to do. I'm just kidding, Martin. But no, seriously, guys, the person who put my telephone in, when I first moved in here, the person who put my telephone in was a woman. She come round, she says, I'm the telephone engineer, BT. And the telephone engineer said, yes, love. She said, well, I've come to put your telephone in. I said, oh, nice one. I said, yeah, come in. She walked in. She says, where would you like the telephone, love? I says, can you put it in the toilet? She said, the toilet? I said, yeah, put it in the bathroom. She says, why? I said, because every time you sit down on the bog, it rings. She says, you are joking. I said, yeah, put it in the lounge, love. Yeah, I said, put it in the front room. But yeah, I was joking. But it's true that though, the telephone, every time you fucking sit down or you get in a nice hot bath, well, I get a shower nowadays. I've not had a bath since they put me shower in. Because I prefer a bath. But it's true though, every time you sit down, every time you get in a nice warm bath, or under the nice hot shower, or you go for a shit, it fucking rings. I mean, the good thing about the mobile, you can take the mobile with you and just put it on the fucking radiator, next to, if you've got a radiator next to your cars, like I have. And while you're sat on the pot, if it fucking rings, you can answer the cunt. You can answer the bloody thing. But even Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of the telephone, even he said, it was one of the things he invented it. He found it really annoying. Probably people phoning him up all the time. I miss a good long soak, but had to have the bath removed so Mum could have a walk-in shower fitted. Yeah, the girl upstairs got a walk-in shower because the lady who lived in there before her, they put it in for the lady that was in there before her, old Frances, and she died at 90, Frances, and they put a walk-in shower in for her. and took the bath out, and Courtney says to me regularly when we were talking, when we talk or when we mention it, you know, she says, I wish I still had my bath. You know, she said the walk-in shower's great. She said it's great for sorting Tommy out, she says, but I wish I had a bath. She said, because I like a good soak in the bath. You know. So me jokingly, I turned around and said, well, anytime you want a bath, knock on here. I says, I might even do your back for you. You know, but yeah, she's alright, my neighbour. Yeah, Mr. Graham Bell, we've been trying to reach you about your Model T's extended warranty. Yeah. He regretted inventing it, yes, he did, didn't he? Yeah. You know, he regretted inventing it, didn't he? I mean, but that being said though, without the telephone, there's a lot of things we would never have got. You know, we might never have got radio because of the microphone. Somebody might not have decided that the microphone was worth inventing, so we might not have got radio as we know it, television as we know it. Mind you, television's no bad thing if we didn't get it. That was no bad thing. But with all said and done, guys and girls, you know, where would we be now without our telephones? You know, without our mobile telephones, where would we be? You know, I remember once, you know, I'll tell you one of my stories, because I know you all like my stories. Anyway, what happened was, I used to have these, when I lived in Wythenshawe, I used to have these two Mormons that used to come round. And I don't mind them, I'll be honest with you, I don't mind them, as long as they don't spout religion. But if they want to talk, these two used to come round just to skive. And, you know, they used to drink that barley cup shit. I used to have a can of that, I used to have a jar of that in the cupboard for them. And they used to come round and I used to make them a drink and we'd sit and we'd have a chat. They even gave me a hand to decorate my front room and whatnot. It's a couple of nice lads. Anyway, and, you know, I give them a couple of quid to help them out because, you know, they don't come over with a lot them, you know. A lot of people going about how rich the Mormon church is. It is, but the missionaries they send over here, they're living on the fucking bare ass of things. You know, and I know that. Anyway, this particular Sunday night, they knocked on my door and they were in tears, these two lads. I said, what's the matter, lads? I said, where's your rucksacks? He said, we've just been mugged at Wythenshawe bus station for our rucksacks. You know, and some of the stuff they carry in their rucksacks is valuable stuff. Like their books of Mormon and Bibles and stuff like that. Their literature they carry around. They don't get it for free. They have to buy it from the church, and it's not cheap. I'll tell you that now, guys. I know it ain't cheap. Anyway, he says, I said, well, we better phone the police. I said, we better ring the police. So he says, right, he says, can you use your telephone? I said, yeah. He said, where is it? I said, it's that red box over there, on the other side of the road. He just looked at me, I said, yeah, there's 20 pence. Just looked at me this moment. I said, no, just dial 999 and just, you know, tell them to come to this address. I said, that's all you do. Well, actually, I sent my girlfriend over. I said, hey, Leslie, go over there and ring that. You know, yeah, but it's the way the look he gave me when he says, where's your telephone? I said, it's over there, in that red box. Anyway, I says to him, I says, I'm unemployed. I says, I can't afford a telephone. I said, I don't need one anyway. I says, one over the road. And all my mates and everybody had the number for that phone box. You know, we used to arrange, if somebody wanted to phone me up, we used to, if they were on the CB especially, They'd say, I'm going to ring you, Andy. I'd say, right, I'll go to the phone box. I used to say, give me 2 minutes to get to the phone box. And, you know, if there was somebody in it, then obviously I had to wait, but more often than not, there weren't many people in it. So I used to wait for them to ring me. The phone used to ring and I would pick it up and have me chat. I think they stopped that, didn't they, BT? Stopped you accepting calls in phone boxes. I used to give everybody the number for the phone box. Yeah, but he says to me, he says, where's your telephone? I says, in that red box over the road. Anyway, a low battery mode, oh dear. Yeah, I'm not a lover of Jehovah's Witnesses. I'll tell you why. Because they think they're God's chosen people. You know, we've got Jehovah's Witnesses in the family. So when they are doing their ministry, they pop in for tea. They know not to try and convert me. I'm not a lover of them really, because they think we're all brothers and sisters and shit like that. And you know, do you remember Lady Breaker from Woodley called Shirley? I can't remember her handle. She was my mate's mum and lived on the precinct with a massive antenna on the roof. I don't, to be honest. I mean, it's the only one I remember from Stockport. The only one I remember from Stockport that does stick in the mind, because I used to speak to her a lot, was a woman called Lancashire Lady on Lancashire. She lived on Lancashire Hill, and she used to be on. She used to go on channel. I think it was channel 30 mid band. It was either 31. It was either 30 or 31. With another guy, a blind operator, a white stick operator called Mr. X Jack. Some payphone lines, mostly private ones, that didn't do incoming calls, but all public phones do. Right, I thought they'd stopped. This was about 1992-ish. Now, I was on in 1992, but I don't remember her. If I knew her handle, I'd probably remember her. But you know, how many Shirleys did we come across on the CB? You know, quite a few. Well, it's quite a few there that we would have come across. But yeah, I used to speak to Lancashire Lady was called Sylvia, and Mr. X was called Jack, and they were always on together. There was Les Ashtray. He used to be on that channel. You know, Les Ashtray used to be on there. I used to join in with them, and we'd all sit down and just pass the mic about and have a chat. You know, I believe Mr. X Jack is still alive, although doesn't go on anymore. I think he had an operation. I heard he had an operation, and it left him in a state of severe depression. But I don't know how true that was. That was what I heard. So Sylvia Lancashire Lady, she's no longer with us, I believe. I know Les Ashtray's passed on. You know, but yeah, I remember the golden age of CB. It'll never be like that again. You know, where you had to use mid-band, which back then until 1996, I think it was, or 94. No probs, just curious if you know. No. I don't, I would say, if I did. But when all said and done, you know, yeah, but you know, but definitely, mate, take your exam, do your license, you know, pay for your exam, do it, get your license, and you won't regret it. I mean, you know, because you know, any opportunity I get to go on 2 meters, I'll go over, because I like 2 meters or 70 centimeters. Any excuse I get to go there, I do it. You know, I like, you know, but yeah, there was loads of people on back in the day, weren't there? They all had different handles. I mean, my handle, it still is, it used to be Apollo 15, but as the more of them dropped off, I was the only one left and still am as far as I know. So I just trimmed off to 15 and just became Apollo. You know, because I asked how many Apollos is there, somebody says, oh, I don't know, about 14 or 15. I says, right, well, I'll have 15. If there's another one at 15, I'll change it to 16. But there wasn't. I was at I ended up staying Apollo 15 for years and years, and then as they all dropped off. I mean, look at Steve Panasonic. He's been there forever. I remember talking to Steve. I remember talking to him in the early 80s. He's been around forever, Steve. Another guy that used to be on, and you don't hear him now, I've not heard him for a long time, was Chris Funky Monkey. He was there since the 70s. He was on AM, him. Chris, he was on AM. And he's been there forever, him. I was just wondering why I've got a busy light flashing on my radio. Why I've got a light flashing on my radio. It's telling me it's busy because there we go. Yeah, it's because the squelch was too far up. And it was, yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm going to be going in a minute. What time is it? It's quarter past, I didn't say quarter past 6, it's quarter past 4. Yeah, I'm going to be going in a minute because I'm on tonight, guys. I'm on tonight in the Vintage Electronics Workshop. We're in there tonight on Vintage Electronics Repair. We're there tonight because we're finishing off the Dansette amplifier belonging to Burn It Out Matthew. Yeah. The analog days were awesome. They still are. They still are. I remember the channels for our local police, so do I. Yeah, 437, yeah, 925, yeah, and 975 respectively. Yeah, I used to listen to the Rozzers. I used to do CB in the 90s, was very, very naughty. I had I can't pronounce that, scanner, and would give reports to local wagon driver about where the speed traps were. Well, cool, we'll tune in later. Nice one for the live. No worries, mate. As long as you enjoy it, you know, as long as you enjoy it, that's all that matters. I mean, there's, like I say on the other channel, I mean, it's you guys that come in that make the channel. Not me, I'm just sat here doing it all, you know. But it's you guys that make the channel by coming in. Like the other channel, we've got a really, and it's the same on this one, I suppose. You know, we get a really good cross section of people coming in, and we even have 2 regular ladies that come in, the lovely Julie and the lovely Karen. We have them coming in, and you know, Julie and Karen, they come in, and you know, yeah, we have a nice community on there, and I'm trying to build a similar community on here, only with a slightly different flavour, you know, a bit more of a radio flavour on here, because that's what this channel's intended to be. You know, it's you know, we all, you know, oh, cheers for that, Martin. Yeah, you'll enjoy it if you're into judging by your name. If you're into tech, you'll enjoy it. If you've got anything on your channel, or subscribe. You know, I'll have a look and subscribe, obviously. You know, because I'll do that. Anyway, yeah, don't forget the subscription. You have to subscribe. Anyway, yeah, you might as well. It's free. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna leave it there because I'm in need of a cup of. I'm in need of a cup of coffee, and Christine will be here in a minute, and I want to put my trousers on. I'm sat here in my undercrackers. I'm gonna put my trousers on, and get the workshop sorted out for tonight. Get the workbench sorted out for tonight, so we can finish that Dansette amp off. Well, it's basically a tuner amp. It's an RG30, a Dansette RG31 portable radio gramophone, as it says in the manual. Basically a portable radiogram with a medium and long wave radio in it. It's basically a TRF set, really, and a two-stage amplifier. The amplifiers in them are usually pretty good. Anyway, we'll save all that for tonight, and right, well, let me just finish the chat, and then what we'll do, we'll get off here, and I can get myself a cup of coffee. Now my channel a bit crap. I should catch you later. Mine is pretty empty. Do have a nice shot of a solar array. Arc, flash it over. Ooh, 1000 volts. That was an ups, that was an ups, I can imagine. Yeah, bloody hell. Yeah, we'll have a look at that. I think I'll subscribe to yours anyway, Martin. Anyway, guys, listen, you all take it easy, you guys and girls that are watching. And all you that are watching on 19, you all take it easy as well. I will be back this way, well, not this way, be back the other way on Vintage Electronics Repair. I've got the t-shirt on, look, got my t-shirt on. I need to have another one of these for this channel. This was sent to me by one of my subscribers. He sent me two. Birmingham Mark, he sent me two. He sent me the red one I wear, and he also sent me this one. I got this one off him for last Christmas, and the one was the Christmas before. But I need to see about having something made for this channel, and you know, maybe find some wall art, amateur radio, CB radio, wall art, so that we're not just looking at blank walls. And as you can see, guys, in the background, there's my Sharp Vertical Music Centre. Which I repaired, and repairing one of them is not for the faint-hearted. You know, you got to be brave. You got to tackle one of them. Karen's husband Jeff did, because I sent him some spare parts, and I sent him a copy. I sent him an email of the service manual, so he could service it. But they are tricky, you know, they're not for the faint-hearted. I think the hardest thing I've done just lately, the most challenging thing I've done just lately, was that AWA cassette deck. Jesus, man, there was about 6 or 7 belts in the bloody thing, and they'd all turned to gunge. And then you get somebody coming on leaving a comment saying, well, why did you have to, I didn't think you'd have to dismantle it to that degree. Well, of course you do. You got to take all the bloody stuff out that's got a gunge on and clean it. Otherwise there's no point, because it'll just go all sticky. The gunge will just end up on the new belts and the machine won't run. The only belt I didn't replace was the counter and tape run belt, because I haven't got one big enough to go across the mechanism to the front. So I just never bothered with that, because it's not needed. So, and you don't sit there gawping at your tape counter. And when I put a cassette on, I usually put a cassette on because I want to listen to the cassette. I don't look for songs on cassettes. I normally the cassette I'm putting in, it's, you know, I put it in because I want to listen to it. So, you know, and it all works. It records, it plays, it does everything it should, and that's where we're happy with it. Anyway, guys, I think I've done a tour of my vintage hi-fi, haven't I? I did a tour of my vintage hi-fi on my other channel, and just before we go, just quickly show you my reel-to-reel for those who haven't seen my lovely old Sony. There we go. There's my lovely old Sony, which works beautifully. That reel I had that reel custom made. I've got two of those Sony reels. I had them custom made because I've got two of them machines, so one for each machine. But yeah, and that's where there's the radios there, all that's there, and the homemade home base there just fits under there, guys. Look, that's the homemade home base. The stickers are starting to come off. The Dymo stickers, they're a waste of time then. Just pop off. Waste of time. There we go. Yeah, I bought that little cabinet. Off the Mildred's daughter for 15 quid, and it's pretty not bad. It's alright. It's got 4 drawers in it. They're not very deep, but there again, the cabinet's not very deep. I mean, they're deep, but they're not very broad. They're just about as broad as the cabinet. But yeah, so that's what we're up against now. We're zoomed out. Yeah, and there's the last look at the workbench for today. We've got plenty of room on there, haven't we, guys? Because we're going to be working about here. We've got another green mat coming, because I don't want to ruin my surface. Because like I say, I paid a lot of money for this bench. You know, I paid a lot of money for this, so I don't want to ruin the surface. So I'll be happy to keep it as it is. But that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing CB radio repairs and amateur radio. I've got the FT101E down here. I can't remember where I put its power supply lead. We need to find that, and then we can maybe look at that one night. You know, I've got a couple of mics I want to do. I've got an MC Kenwood, I think it's a Kenwood MC50. That needs converting back. I converted it for CB radio use, but it's no good. It needs an amplifier. I'm not messing about building an amplifier. I'm going to turn it back into a ham mic, and that just involves rerouting the switches. Just involves putting everything back as it was, no problem. And we've got the Ham Master, which usually comes as a Leeson. We've got that we need to take apart, and we need to do the PTT in that, because that's a bit crappy. So we need to work out a modification for the PTT, because they're using we might be able to put some new contacts in it, actually. Might be able to put new contacts in, because I've got some buttons which have the same contacts and they're brand new, so we might be able to replace the contacts in the PTT. If we can, then that's what we'll do. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Let's go back to camera 1. We've already got camera 2, so we've already got the multiple cameras sorted out. There we go. We're going to have another camera here and another camera over here. So, you know, we'll probably try and get 4 cameras on the go. Not 4 candles, by the way. Handles for forks. No, cameras. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, guys. And thank you very, very much. It means the world to me that you all come in and we've had a really good afternoon. And I might start doing this on a regular basis, coming in on an afternoon, because I don't mind coming in on an afternoon. I mean, I'm quite happy to do that, because what I might do tomorrow, I might come in tomorrow afternoon, and we might even have a look on the, we might have a look around the HF. Might do a bit of HF tomorrow and see if we can find anything crawling. Give us all an idea of what we can find on HF. Do a bit of HF and maybe a bit of 2 litres. Find a 2 litre up and do a bit of that maybe. And once I get fully sorted out, I'm going to expect to have a switch where I can switch between 2 radios. I'm going to make some, I need to make some patch leads up, I think, so we can switch between 2 radios and have a CB as well, a dedicated CB, for the purpose of having a CB. Anyway guys, I'm going to leave you to it. Thank you very much for coming in, it means the world to me that you do, and I will be back on the Vintage Electronics Repair channel tonight with the dance set, about 7ish. Catch you later guys, you all stay safe, take it easy, bye for now. Oh, I almost forgot, like, share, subscribe, and buy me a coffee, but buy me a coffee only if you want to, because I don't do anything on my channels that is locked up in a members corner or on Patreon or anywhere like that. Everything I do, you guys get to see it, no matter what it is. I'll catch you later guys.